Welcome to Campfire Stories.
Welcome back, friends. When we left them, it had all come down to the dark. At a lonely motor court called Ferris Crossing, the old man from the water tower had offered Lucas Myers his heart's desire, peace, and been refused, and Nora had told him to his face that she was the daughter of a man he had murdered. He had walked out into the night, and 30 seconds later every light in the place went out at once. The collector was somewhere in the dark. The last parcels were not yet mailed, and 2 people, one of them near 70, were about to learn whether the trap they built would go off in time. Tonight we find out.
Marty, I have not had a decent night's sleep since you left them in that black cabin. What did they do?
They did the thing that had saved them once already, Carol, and Lucas understood it in his bones now. A man like the collector needs the quiet and the dark and the empty. He does his work where there are no witnesses. So the answer, in a cabin with the power cut, was not to hide in the dark and be quiet. It was the exact opposite. It was to make as much light and as much noise and as many witnesses as one old man possibly could. Lucas had parked their car right outside the cabin door, and he still had the keys in his pocket, and a car, Carol, has a horn and headlights and an alarm.
Oh, he is going to wake the whole place up? Turn the night into a stage.
Turn the night into a stage, Carol. He pushed Nora down low, and he crawled to the door, and he reached out and he pressed the button on that key fob, and the car's lights blazed on, and the horn began to blare, over and over, an ungodly racket in the dead quiet of a country night. And Lucas leaned on it. He held that panic button down, and he did not let go, and that horn screamed across Ferris Crossing, and one by one, Carol, the windows of the other cabins lit up. Doors opened. A trucker in his undershirt. An old couple. A boy. Faces everywhere, squinting into the dark, wondering what fool was making all that noise. And in the middle of all those witnesses, a professional who works only in the quiet had, suddenly, nowhere to stand.
He turned all those sleeping strangers into a wall again. Marty, the boy who used a church market now uses a motel full of tired travelers. He cannot be touched in front of all those eyes.
He could not, Carol. And in the noise and the headlights and the confusion, Lucas got Nora into that car, and he drove it straight out of Ferris Crossing with the horn still going right past where he was sure the collector stood, out onto the highway, and he did not stop. And here is the thing about a man who is not in a hurry, Carol. When his patience finally fails, he does not suddenly become reckless. The collector did not chase them down the highway at 100 miles an hour into the dawn. That is not what those men do. He let them go. Because he knew something Lucas did not yet know for certain, that there was still one thing left undone, and he would simply be waiting, calm, wherever it had to be done.
The parcels. Marty, the last parcels are not mailed. He does not need to chase them. He only needs to be at the one place they still have to go.
The one place they still have to go, Carol. There were by that last night only a handful of copies left in the bag that had not entered the mail, and Lucas and Nora both knew that a handful might be enough to matter and might not, and the only way to be sure the switch was truly armed was to get every last one past the point of no return. And the collector knew it too. So while Lucas drove through the dawn toward the nearest real town with a real post office, he understood he was very likely driving toward the one man in the world he most wanted to avoid, because the collector would reason it out the same way and simply be there first.
So it is a race to a post office, and the finish line is guarded. Marty, how do you mail a letter past a man who is waiting for you to try?
You change what the finish line is, Carol. And this was Nora, her father's daughter, to the very end. As they drove, gray and exhausted, she said, "We are thinking about it wrong. We do not have to reach a post office. We have to reach the point of no return. And those are not the same place. and she took out the last few copies, and she did the thing that undid the whole trap the certain people had built. She found in the next town not a post office but a bus. A simple intercity bus at a little depot going to the city, hours away. And she paid a fare in cash to send a parcel on that bus to be picked up at the far end, the way people in that country have shipped packages on buses for 100 years. No line to guard. No counter to watch. A dozen buses a day out of a dozen little depots, and a man cannot stand on all of them.
Oh, that is beautiful, Marty. He is guarding the front door, and she went out the side. She sent the last of it away on a bus while he watched the post office. So it is done. It is really done. The switch is armed.
The switch was armed, Carol. Somewhere on a highway, on an ordinary bus, among people going to see their grandchildren, rode the last copies of the thing that would end the certain people, past any hope of recall. And when the last parcel was gone, Lucas told me, he pulled that car over to the side of the road, and he and Nora sat there in the morning light, and neither of them said anything for a long while, because they had done it, and being still alive to have done it did not yet feel real. And then Lucas did one more thing. He took out a slip of paper the old man had left, a number in case Lucas came to his senses about the offer. And he called it, because he wanted the old man to hear it from him.
Oh, Marty. He called the man from the water tower. What did he say?
The old man answered Carol, mild as ever, expecting, I think, surrender. And Lucas Myers, 60 years old, standing on the shoulder of a highway, said, It's done. It went out days ago, and it went out this morning, and it is on its way to more countries than you have friends in. You cannot buy it back, and you cannot bury it, and you cannot bury us, because we are the least of your problems now. And then he said the thing he had waited 40 years to say, quiet, no triumph in it. He said, You told me at the water tower I was done there. I wasn't. But you are. And he hung up. And Carol, the old man, stood in whatever fine room he was standing in, and for the first time in 40 years, the mild smile did him no good at all, because the one thing his whole life was built to prevent had already left on a bus.
Oh, Marty. I have chills. He said it back to him after 40 years. But you have that look. The fire is not done turning. What happens to a man like that when the thing goes off?
What happens, Carol, is the last part of our story, and it is not the fireworks you might think. It is quieter and stranger and truer than that. Because the ledger did not land like a bomb the next morning. That is not how the world works. It landed like a slow tide in one country and then another. A reporter here who did not answer to anyone the old man knew. A tax office there that did not care whose photograph was on which charity wall. And over the weeks that followed, the smiling pillar began, very quietly, to come apart, in a way no lawyer could stop and no phone call could bury. And the collector, who was a professional and no fool, read the wind early, and did the coldest and most sensible thing of his cold, sensible life. He looked at a boss who was about to become the most watched man in the country, and he simply walked away, and was never any trouble to Lucas or Nora again. Because you do not stand next to a falling tree.
So the man who hunted them just melted away the moment his master started to fall. Marty, there is no loyalty in that world at all, is there? And the old man is left alone, watching everything he built come apart on the news. But Lucas and Nora, Marty, are they safe? Is it truly over for them?
That, Carol, is the question for our last night at this fire. Because being no longer worth killing is not the same as being at peace, and a man does not put down a weight he has carried for 40 years in a single morning on the side of a road. Lucas Myers had won. The certain people were finished, the pillar was falling, the collector was gone, and he was 60 years old, and free, truly free, for the first time since he was 19, and he did not yet have the faintest idea how to be. What a free man does with the rest of his life. and what became of Lucas and Nora and one old woman in a village far away is where we end it. Next time.
You have done it again, Marty Shepherd, and I forgive you because that was worth every held breath. It is really over for the certain people. The switch went off, the pillar is falling. But Lucas is free and does not know how to be free, and my heart aches at that more than any chase. Is there peace for that dear man at last? Does he ever tell the old woman in the village about her brother? And can he, after 40 years, finally sleep a whole night through? I have to be there for the end of it.
The end of the whole long story of Lucas Myers, every last thread of it, is where we go next time, our final night. Until then, friends, sleep warm, keep the fire high, and remember, sometimes the trap that saves you is the one you build after you have decided to stop being afraid. I'm Marty Shepherd.
And I'm Carol, and I will hold my breath one more week for that gentle man. Hold your people close and come back for part 8, the end of it all.